Welcome to Northbound, Alaska, the Trucking Files, a podcast where we talk to haul road drivers, both past and present, to carry on the knowledge and experience of one of the toughest roads on Earth. On this episode, we sit down with Phil Kromm and John Slater. Both these men have their fair share of miles on the haul road. With over 55 years of combined driving experience up there alone, they not only learned how to survive, but thrive on the Dalton.
Trying to represent.
We're with the baddest boys of town.
I don't know about all that.
John Slater and Phil Kromm. Obviously, you've seen them on the show. Maybe you haven't. Maybe this is the first show you've seen them both on here, but talked to John a couple of times and talked to Phil once before, and we wanted to have both these guys in here and maybe reminisce a little bit and talk some safety stuff and maybe tell some stories. So, Aaron, what do you got? You got any thing right off the top of your head that you want to maybe? I mean, Aaron's got the most experience as far as hanging out with these guys. I've only hung out with them a little bit, so my experience level is pretty low.
I was thinking about that talk with Phil the other day. It's like the memory just started flooding in my head. It's like, where do we go from here? It's like,
right.
And then you reminded me of different things that I'd forgotten about. It's like, that's fun doing this stuff.
It's back when we were all the kids on the road.
Yeah, we were all no gray hair.
Yeah,
I had some hair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were the youngsters out there at one point, and now somehow or another we're the old timers.
I still feel like a youngster, but it's like I think some people are looking to us to know what to do out there.
Absolutely, so. Yeah. It's
so time to step up.
I feel like a youngster until I do something that I used to do, and then it hurts.
Yeah, my back's a little sore this morning from untying that trailer.
Yeah, Lord forbid a guy jump off a trailer these days.
You remember doing that when you were a kid? You just, no thought about it, just jump right off the flatbed?
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't even sit down and drop off.
Jump out of the back of a van, off a flatbed. Yeah.
Now how you feeling?
I'm feeling like I need a ladder.
Yeah.
Like I should have been doing that a long time ago.
Isn't it funny, though, when we were young, and here I'm a little bit younger than you guys, obviously. I mean, Phil, you're probably the oldest one here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably, what, almost 50? Oh, 55. I was close. I'm 37. I'll be 37. And I was thinking that, oh, these old guys, they don't know what they're talking about. You know, you jump right out of the trucks, and then you hurt yourself. You twist your ankle or something.
Yep.
Like, maybe I should have been listening to the older guys, you know, and I'm sure we're all thinking that, too.
Yep. Get off all the energy drinks and all the soda and start drinking water and eating better and all the things we should have done 25, 30 years ago, and here we are.
Yeah. Do you still ever try Mountain Dew once in a while?
Oh, yeah, all the
time. You ever just go to Coldfoot and be like, you know, I'm just going to get one just to kind of drink it on the way home?
I'll get a Sprite now. I got away from Mountain Dew, but I'll grab a Sprite every now and then. But.
That makes me think of my youngest when Emily was pregnant with him. She was drinking Mountain Dew all the time, which Michelle was too, which I don't know if Teresa was part of that or not, because they were born the same week, all three of them kids.
Yeah, all the women were pregnant all at the same time. But.
And I don't know if, was Teresa drinking Mountain Dew?
Oh, no.
I know Michelle and Emily were, and it's like, yeah, you can sure tell now. It's stay off the Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Good times.
So let's go back and talk about you guys. I want to hear about that first trip again. When you, I'm trying to remember who took you up there, but what didn't you say Phil brought you back out southbound?
Well, it was a combination between Phil, Tony Molesky, and Bill Sturgeon.
Yeah.
Because I'd went up with Kelly Moore.
That's right, Kelly Moore. I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, I went up with him and spent a night at Prudhoe and did my interview in Prudhoe Bay. And
I actually sat in on that interview.
Yeah.
With Kevin Silk.
Yeah.
Do you remember that much? Do you remember him sitting in?
I don't remember much except for the trip back, you know, because it was blowing up there and everything was kind of sketchy, and you know, it's the first time I'd ever been up there, so you know, I was sleep deprived because you know I got into Prudhoe at dark 30 or whatever, and went over to the hotel, got a couple hours of sleep, and met with Kevin, and then shortly thereafter we're headed south. So, you know, and it was a fight all the way back to town. So
I'm curious about Phil's first impression of John. It's like, man, what a loser. It's like,
I hope so.
Yeah.
You set the bar low.
I vaguely knew John. I was hauling groceries for one of the companies here in town where he was working. And when he popped into the office up there for an interview, Kevin said, "Hey, come on. You know this guy a little. Come sit down." We just had conversation, this and that, and kind of informal interview. The job was his, basically, and it's like, all right, we got to get out of here. The weather's going south, so are we. So away we went, and that was John's introduction to the haul road.
Yeah, and I think probably 2 weeks later, or a week or two later, I started in Prudhoe. You know, flew up there and started my hitch working local up there in Prudhoe. So
You were driving going back, right? Or were you just riding? I can't remember.
I was just riding. I wasn't. I was just hired.
Okay.
Or so I wasn't actually employed yet. Hadn't done any of the paperwork.
Okay.
or
I think
anything
I was
like
getting
that.
to those two stories confused on your first trip actually driving up there and then riding. So
Yeah. No, I rode up there.
That's right.
Rode up and rode back just to do the interview. Not quite sure why they didn't fly me, but
they should have.
It was
Flew you, right?
it was a good experience both ways. Because I'd never been that far north, so
So, go ahead.
maybe they're trying to get you addicted to the road.
it didn't take long. It didn't take long.
That didn't throw you off that it was blowing up there? You're like, what am I getting myself into here?
No, when I first started working at Prudhoe, that's what threw me off, because they didn't, they laid it out like, oh, we go fishing and we do this and we do that, and it's like, all right, this is kind of cool, it's a 3 week on, 2 week off hitch, and it's like, man, this is gonna be awesome. And then, I didn't do any of that. I worked, and it was, we were on day rate up there, and yeah, it was just work. Phil was bringing the grocery trailers up, him and Matt Bush, and I was delivering the groceries across the oil field. So that was kind of how, that was kind of my deal, because they were Hub Foods groceries, and
Yeah.
that's where I had worked, and so I knew the paperwork and the product and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just I made my way across the oil field, and then getting into those storms and all that up there, and it's like, I don't know that I signed on for all this, not being able to see anything. And
Didn't you spend 3 or 4 days out at Alpine stuck there?
couple times
in one of those storms, yeah.
couple times, yeah, out in the lower Harrison Bay, stuck out on the ice out there for a day, and just always get stuck somewhere doing groceries, because you're out there, because they had rigs at that point scattered everywhere, out in the NPRA, and Alpine was under construction that year that I started up there. So
Yeah, I and it started out, I spent about 2.5 years driving and delivering all that stuff up there, and then the oil field expanded too much to where it was more than one guy could do. So when John come up for an interview, it's like, yeah, this is the guy that can do all the extra up here, so I don't have to.
So you were working for Hub Foods too?
No,
Or no?
I was
Oh.
driving for Carlisle.
Okay.
But we contracted with Hub Foods too.
Okay.
yeah, so
That's
when
why
we
you
first
were
met,
up
I
there.
was running the warehouse at Hub Foods. He was picking the groceries up to
Okay.
take north.
Because I remember you ran for or worked for Hub Foods.
Yeah.
And so were you doing that up there at first or after Fairbanks, or was that for Carlisle when you went up there?
That was for Carlisle when I went to work up there.
Okay, because of the Hub Foods experience and
Yes.
all that. Okay,
Yeah, 'cause
I
it was their
understand.
groceries.
Okay, I got it.
So,
I got it.
their groceries, their paperwork, the whole 9 yards. So the sales lady for the North Slope, Gina Gavora, and my wife were best friends, and they got to talking, and they're like, we kind of need a driver up north. So, but unbeknownst to me, that they were planning on me going to work up there, and I didn't even know anything about it. So,
Wait, so your wife was planning this? Like,
yeah, my wife and her best friend,
oh,
Gina.
we gotta,
yeah, so
we
they
got to
were-
get John out of the house. Get him out of town.
Yeah, so they were scheming that together with,
Nice.
with Carlisle and all that.
Always
and-
working something, aren't they?
Always. Got to keep an eye out. But yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah.
Is met Phil at Hub Foods here in town, and loading his trailers and all that, and yeah.
Yeah, we just moved him from one end to the other.
And now 26 years later, almost 26 years later, I still get called Phil, and he gets called John
In
on
broad
a daily
daylight.
basis. On a daily basis.
In broad daylight from people we know. That
Really?
we've known for more than 20 years, yeah.
I've been doing that all wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever wonder if they're just messing with you guys just because they know?
I know
that part?
sometimes they are, but it's
Yeah.
like, have a good day there, Phil. It's like, well, he's about 2 hours behind me, but
I was getting, hey, have a good day, Aaron, or
yeah.
or their Todd Powers started saying, have a good day, Nathan, to Aaron, even though he knew it was Aaron, and so he was calling me Aaron. It was pretty funny. But,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just almost comical.
yeah.
So.
It's like, here we go again, right?
Well, then people started thinking he was my son. It's like, man, he is younger, but he's not that much younger. Then he started calling Dad Grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Really messing with people. You got to be careful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, really start confusing people here.
Well, especially with the new people, because then they really don't know. You know, because I know Aaron and I talked here a time or two. You know, like for calling out hills. You know, if you're joking around calling stuff out, and the next thing you know, a new guy's starting to call out. You know, the thing you were joking about. You know, so
Yeah.
you're starting a new trend or what have you.
Yeah, you're just having a good time. And you're like, oh, somebody else heard that. You know, somebody else is listening on the radio. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You start calling things out that don't need to be, or calling something that doesn't exist, and that's showed up there a little bit.
That's funny because, you know, we're out there having fun. We're all kind of kidding around, but we don't. I guess when we started, we were the new guys, so it was like we were the ones learning. Once we knew,
But it was different then.
It was a completely different
We
atmosphere.
were expected to shut up and listen.
yeah, I didn't hardly say nothing. It's like I didn't want to be on the radio.
Schooling was different then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bruised too easy.
Did any one of you guys ever piss off the old guys?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Just for being there.
Yeah. Just for not knowing right out of the gate the rules and how to conduct yourself up there.
Yeah.
You know, that just made them mad. That all you new kids don't know.
You don't know nothing. You don't know anything we've been through, you know, and which is, you know, true to a point, but you know, everybody's got to learn.
I wonder if we learned quicker by them guys being hard on us like that,
It could be.
or got our attention anyhow.
I
Got our
would
attention.
think so, yeah, definitely. Just, I don't know, just different, you know, everybody doesn't need a hug like these days, I guess. So just tell them how it is, and if you screw up, they yell at you and get in your face and all that, and you don't really see much of that these days, you know.
Yeah.
This stuff on the radio every now and then.
But was it explained, you know, to you very good from those guys? Like, hey, you don't want to drop down on somebody in the bottom, or, you know, don't let somebody drag their, like you were saying, what was that, Terry Dunn? He was coming off North Koyukuk, and he was dragging his brakes because you were kind of just kind of sitting down there at the bottom or something.
That was the first time I really. And Terry'd spent a lot of time with me, and he was dropping out the Koyukuk going north, and I seen him coming, so I just slowed down. He's up there dragging his feet, waiting on me, and I'm trying to be nice and not meet him fast. And he's like, and he was really calm about it. But he's like, Aaron, that is going to eat your lunch someday. He's like, he was up there dragging his feet. He's like, you should have just stepped on it and met me up here on the hill. You would have been slowed down by then. But instead, he's burning all his brakes off, and we still met in the bottom, and I still could have almost spun out.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like you just don't want to meet somebody in the bottom. And direction doesn't. Every hill's different, you know. But it's like it doesn't matter if you're north or south. You know, if somebody's on top, you let the other person get up there. Let them get a little bit, use their momentum.
Yeah.
Because once you start putting it's nice to have the power, but then that's when you can start spinning. If the momentum that's key.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, it goes back to, we've talked about it, and I've heard it talked about on several, you know, the podcasts, that it's hard to train people, you know, and have them comprehend. Like, for example, oil spill, you know, the general rule is northbound traffic has a right of way, you know, but if you see somebody coming across and they're getting ready to make a run up oil spill, you just stop.
And they're headed south. They automatically have the right of way because they're getting ready to go uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, you know, if you're training somebody new, they're like, well, why do you do that on this hill, but you don't do it on this hill? You know, and it takes just experience, you know. once you get more and more experience, or get yelled at a time or two for doing this, and then it starts sinking in. But yeah, it's for somebody new to comprehend, what to do on every situation, and even now, a guy might make a bad judgment call, see somebody that's ice cut or oil spill or whatever, and you see them way out there and you think you got plenty of time, but they're maybe moving a little faster than what you think they should be, and then you meet them in a bad spot, so it's just all timing and experience and all that.
But to speak to what you were saying a minute ago, Aaron, as new guys, and we still see it today, they're so conscious of trying to be courteous and do the right thing, they can easily do the exact wrong thing and, stop at the bottom of the hill or slow way down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
And that's just the lack of experience up there until they do trip after trip after trip and kind of learn the nuances up there.
Yeah.
And I've actually been noticing a lot of that here this last week and a half with all the hunters that are going up north and all the, people that are trying to, quote unquote, be courteous, but they're stopping in blind corners, they're stopping at the bottom of the hills, and, they're trying to do the right thing, but in the same respect, they're doing the absolute wrong thing. Because now I'm dragging my brakes all the way down the hill not to meet them in the bottom or whatever. It didn't look like a tour van, but it was something along those Sprinter vans or something like that. Stopped right in the bottom of the koi cup yesterday.
Oh,
I mean, right in the guardrail, just stopped. I was like, man, if there was somebody coming or, that would have been just a mess. But
Yeah, you're praying that no one's going to be coming when you're in that situation.
right, yeah. So
Well, it's all, like on the Koyukuk yesterday, I seen a four-wheeler coming. I was coming off the top, so I just dragged my feet coming off there. Even though it's a four-wheeler, it's like I'm still don't really want to meet somebody down there, and I'm just going slower and slower. And it's almost like he was down there in the bottom waiting for me. He's like,
Right.
"Come on, get up here so we can go." And
right.
I don't know. And to me, once I drop off the hard part of the hill, then you're committed. It's like the danger zone. It's like I want to hurry up and get out of the bottom in case to let traffic run down through there, And yeah, that's the bottoms of any of these hills, really. It's like just hurry up and get out of the bottom and let somebody else have the hill. And everybody's kind of you need to be taking turns, whether it's north or south. You guys got either bumper to bumper, and then because I don't ever like to stop. I like to just slow way down just so I'm not meeting somebody. And then,
Right.
But if you got 3 or 4 trucks together, by the time, if you're not going to meet them in the bottom, then you're going to be stopped. I don't like being stopped, in case somebody comes over the hill and tries to run over you.
Well, then you got all this traffic that gets piled up behind you, and then you start moving. Next thing you know, you got yourself a convoy,
Exactly. and that creates, a lot of extra risk when you start piling up a lot of truck after truck after truck. But it's kind of ironic that we're all talking about the Koyukuk. Yesterday, I had the same thing happen. Waited for a couple of trucks, and about the time myself and the trainee were starting down off of there's an actual tour van coming down the other side, and he met us right at the bottom of the hill.
Oh.
Announced himself at the bridge. I mean, we could see him, and it's summertime, so we just kind of eased off there. We were both empty, but in the winter, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Well, that, and you're making that sweeping right-hand corner, so anything coming off your tires is going into the other lane, because you're making that corner. So, so you're just spraying rocks and stuff all over that northbound lane.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but it's like when you're meeting people in a certain corner, if you've got the right-hand corner, you're throwing it to them. If you're in the left-hand corner, it's coming at you, and you have to slow down accordingly to some of that stuff.
I took a rock yesterday on the outside of a corner meeting somebody. He was going a little faster than he should, but he was preoccupied to tell us there was a 12 wide and a 17 wide with a push truck coming pretty soon. Okay. We'll see them eventually, but don't forget what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything because he was trying to be courteous, let us know what was going on the road, but I think his focus was a little off. You know,
Yeah, you need to prioritize what you're doing.
yeah,
What's
focus
the most
what you're doing, not what's coming along behind you.
So it really, he should have just been driving his truck and slowing down before getting on the CB to let you know what
Correct.
you were gonna find out eventually, right?
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
were going to find out directly.
Well, you could meet safely, and once everybody gets by, then he could tell you if he wants
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it's all about the timing of that.
Well, and it what I've noticed the last couple of years with a lot of new up there, you know, the radio's used as a tool, you know, to communicate what's going on the road in front and behind you, and so everybody's kind of aware of what's going on. So many people these days, like yesterday, like I was just saying, they're so concerned with being an information center that they forget to drive accordingly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen that more and more lately.
Yeah, and that's been a running theme through all these podcasts as well, is the overcommunication,
Yes.
you know, with the call outs and the chitter chatter and the tour vans and Alaska, and you know, everybody's calling out everything, and
Well, particularly
Yeah.
people wanting to give a road report on the, you know, the weather of what's going on, which we talk about a lot. But I don't need to hear about the past when I'm 6 hours away and you were there 6 hours ago.
or rolling by Hilltop and they're giving you a pass report.
Exactly.
All right, well, I
Which
guess
is
we'll
8
check that
hours.
out 8 or 9 hours down the road. Appreciate it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and it's even like the call out thing too. It's like it's going to be busier in the winter than the summer. It's like I don't call out in the summer. You know, it's like, but the winter time it's more. There's room for error when the road's good. You know, you don't have to run at the hills as hard. You're going to make it.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah.
Yeah, we're rolling into August, or you know, September here in a few weeks, and you know, it's getting foggy at nights up north, and you know, there's, you know, like calling out for Chicken Run or 117 if you're southbound, or Slope Mountain or stuff like that. So you know, because it's just so dense, you can't see anything, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, you're driving accordingly too. You're not letting it rip on down the hill. So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
you just
and the saying goes, drive with your eyes, not your radio.
Yeah.
yep. So
Yeah, I'm not as nervous as like, man, I can slow down anywhere. And the biggest thing, you don't want to rock somebody, so you're driving slower in the summertime. But wintertime, you need that momentum. So it's like
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be doing more calling out in the wintertime because when it's time, I'm gonna be rolling.
Yeah.
Like you said before, you're talking like one lane stuff, you know, like on the pass. We saw that last winter, you know. And who was it? Yeah, it was Todd Powers that went up there and met Nate in that one lane stuff, and then he had to stop, and then his trailer went into the guardrail, so he couldn't get his other set on. And then the blade came down, gave him a tug, pulled the trailer out. He was able to, you know, get that set on, but it's like necessary call outs, I guess,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it needs it, if it's
Well, there
warranted,
was a lot
you
of
know.
that on Tulik as well. You
Yeah.
know, one lane stuff, and then you know, it just there was a lot of just weird spots this last year. You know, between Galbraith and Tulik, that it was one lane and a spot or two. You know, you just had to be careful where you met people, and you know, so yeah, it got a little sketchy a time or two this winter. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like Aaron was saying, you know, calling out in the wintertime is way more crucial because you need to use your momentum, and, you know, kind of ties into what we were talking about with all the new up there, new people thinking, okay, that's how you do it, and they're calling out all summer. Then they get a little irritable when somebody doesn't respond. Well, you're not going to spin out on the pass. Nobody's slid backwards and blocking the road. You don't necessarily need to announce yourself when it's summertime coming off the pass, because, you know, it just,
keep it in your lane.
yeah.
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 That pass is a big one for me though in the wintertime though, especially the states working or something like that. It's like I'm trying to protect those guys because they got their hands full in that equipment trying to work up there, and then they're prepared for people to be coming and going, but it's like, man, you want to give them guys as much of a heads up as you can too.
Well,
but-
that you don't know if there's a berm down the middle of the road. You know which side of the road you need to be on. You
Yeah.
know, so there's you know a lot of different variables in regards to that stuff. You know.
I remember my first winter up there, I picked up Georgie Spears at the state camp at Chandelar because he was coming down the north side of the pass, and there was a blade going down in front of him in his lane, and he caught a glimpse of a truck coming up at the pipe crossing, and he said something to the blade. I think we're about to meet somebody. They all met at the same place, and Georgie couldn't stop. Poked a hole in his radiator on the back of that blade, on the back of the road grader.
Oh, wow.
So he's done. You know, there's a big green spot in the middle of the snowpack there, a soft spot for several weeks after that. But he was sitting at the state camp when I went in and picked him up, and shoes off and feet kicked up on the table, drinking a soda, watching TV. So, come on, Georgie, let's go to town. And, you know, and it's things like that. You know, even at that time, he was one of the old timers, and since retired now. But you know, getting to ride along with him and learn in real time, my first winter on that road, on how to do stuff was really invaluable.
That is cool, just being in the truck together like that.
Yeah, I did a couple of ammo hauls with him too, which is a whole different experience. But yeah, learning from those guys when they're in the truck with you is.
It's a whole lot better than following them and be like, now do this on this hill, and when they're in the truck, they're like, no, do this. No, you know, it's quicker.
Yes.
Right.
You know, and they can see what you're doing. Like, no, don't do that, because you know.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I guess calling out, Phil's been unfortunately with me where we've had some mishaps on call outs.
John has, over the years,
Twice.
If you had to, how many trips, how many miles on that road have we done running together, do you figure?
A lot. I
Well over 500,000, over 500.
together probably even 1 million.
And you're
Probably.
still friends.
Even though he has drove us into some of the most awful situations.
It just two separate situations, two completely separate winners. Has been a bad deal. Once on Slope Mountain, once on the Beaver Slide.
Yeah.
Call out, inclement weather. It's blowing. It's crappy. Drifting. And I can't remember what happened first, if it was the Slope Mountain deal or the Beaver Slide, but it's all the same. All the same result is.
You're parked in a drift.
Yeah. I was parked in a drift both times because both times I met a state pickup. And it was one lane road. We called out, you know, Phil and I were southbound both times. Called out on Slope Mountain. Everybody had been telling us it's one lane at the top of the hill. It's one lane at the top of the hill. You know, that last, 100 feet or so,
Yeah.
right before you crest over. And yell out, you know, and here comes a state pickup bombing right down the middle of it. It's like, what do you do? There's nowhere to go except for right into the drift, and that's exactly where it happened.
Yeah.
Just come to a stop. They kept going, and it was like, well, I guess we'll start shoveling here. So,
Yeah.
And then almost the exact same thing on the Beaver Slide. There's a Canadian truck off the road down towards
Right at tree line.
Right at tree line, yeah. And so his trailer's kind of poking out. You couldn't see anything. You know, we all got two sets on. You know, it's just one of those. It just takes you forever to get up the top, and you know,
Doing battle with the Beaver Slide, like I spoke to before.
yeah,
you know.
we're just sitting there trying to look into nothing, and here comes state pickup truck just rallying down the hill. Just met. I had to get over where that Canadian truck was. Boom, right in the drift. Done.
Well, and the bad part about that was there was trucks on the top waiting for us.
Yeah.
And everybody's communicating. He drove around all of them and kept coming down the hill, and we
met right at the worst part of the road.
even though John's telling him, hey, we're coming up the hill, we're coming out of tree line, trying to get past this big drift, and he just kept coming and met him right there.
Yeah, so
Wow.
boom. So whatever momentum we had was gone. So I was able to back out of that, but it took us 2 hours to get to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's getting aggravated. We're going to come down and just bust holes. It's like, into what? You know,
Yeah.
we're trying to get our way to the top here. You know, it finally happened, but yeah, it was just, you know, whatever momentum we had at the bottom, trying to, you know, chew through drifts and stuff like that was gone instantly. You know, just
That could be a challenge on that hill.
Yeah. So it was just, it just seems like stuff like that, call out, and then, don't expect just because you call out that, you're going to have the right of way,
Yeah.
But when you're in inclement weather like that, and you can't see hardly anything, I think there'd be a little bit more.
Did you guys have tankers for those instances or
Yes.
flatbeds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more difficult than pulling just a 2-axle flatbed, obviously.
It is.
Right. Yeah.
You kind of have a little bit of a sail back there. Not like a van, but
It's like an anchor on the back of a 50-foot chain
yeah.
Yeah.
dragging behind you.
Yeah, even a reefer van or something like that would have been awesome. But just pulling tanker where you got nothing up front.
Did you guys have the 2 lift axles up front with the Tritums on those, or was that just a 1 lift axle back
I
then?
don't know.
The Beaver Slide, we just one lift axle.
Yeah,
so,
we had 48 footers with 1 lift.
So now,
and we were in those T800s.
oh,
Which
22,000-pound truck instead of 25, and it was a job on a good day in the wintertime to get up some of those hills.
yeah.
and you guys have everything locked in, and
Oh, yeah.
Locked in,
Two sets of chains
sets
on
of
it.
chains. I put a set of chains over a set of chains on the front axle one time. I just could not get up daggone Beaver Slide. Saved
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah,
So,
I got
3 sets on and barely made it over the top.
I left Prudhoe 2 hours behind John. I'm usually 2 hours behind, it seems like, but I hear his voice. I'm coming over Stormy, and I hear his voice, and I was like, "What are you still doing here?" He was so pissed. He was so mad.
Just 2 sets and just can't get over the hill. Just enough drifting, just enough everything that it just did not work out for those light trucks. And you go up there, back down, go up there, back down. And it just, finally, John Taylor, JT, stopped and gave me another set of chains, and I put those over the top of my front axle chains and finally got over the top.
Wow.
It was gnarly.
3 sets. Are those 7 mils or 8 mils that you
8
guys
mils.
Okay.
8
Yeah.
mils.
You don't
Yeah.
do that very often, but
Yeah.
but when a guy does that, you have to alternate your cross links, so it's
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it's biting and it's.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I-
it
Yeah,
was
but
gnarly.
he worked on it for so long. By the time I got there, I was able to just drive right up there.
It's teamwork.
So looking back, John, would it have been better to have some Northbounders come through there, or
I don't think that there was anybody up there at that
Oh,
time.
okay.
I
Not
don't-
that particular day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is a totally separate situation.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's hard to get back and focus on, every instance, but I'm pretty sure there was nobody up there waiting on me. It was just one of those days, it was just enough drifting and just enough to where you can't see. And
It was warm. It
It
was,
was warm,
getting
yeah.
towards springtime. The sun was working on it. And
That's the interesting thing about them guys waiting up on top of the hill. If they would have come down there, we've probably all been in situations where everybody's stuck in drifts side by side.
yeah,
When you create a mess like that, it is really hard for somebody to come rescue you. Or if the state gets there, it's like they almost got to drive down through the ditch to kind of help
Right.
clean the mess up. So patience really helps in situations like that.
Well, yeah, and that, and like I can't remember, how many years ago this was or all the particulars, but in that instance where we met that state pickup in the drift there on the Beaver Slide, had all the northbound traffic started coming down the hill, they're kicking up all the snow behind them, which is blowing in front of them, so they're making, they're just making their own situation worse. And, everybody's going to get impatient and start dropping off the hill one after another. So the guy in the back's going to be okay, but the guy in the front's got all these trucks in front of him that's creating all this extra snow drifts or snow dust in the air. So now you really can't see. So
I don't know if we've ever really talked about that, but that Beaver Slide is famous for that. And I've seen
or the
or
pass.
Yeah.
And I'd like to speak of the next situation after you're done. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, it's scary, if you're coming down at the Beaver Slide at 15 mile an hour and the wind's 15 mile an hour, you can't get out of your snow dust.
Yeah.
And it's talk about a scary feeling. It's like you're going down there and all of a sudden, or like if the wind's blowing 20 mile an hour and it's just carrying it ahead, it's like you never get out of that dust. And that is scary. That's scary when you can't see.
Well, before you get into that, there was one instance of exactly that. Phil and I were dropping off the pass northbound or southbound.
That's what I was going to speak about.
Oh, I was behind him, and
Now let's back up, John.
okay,
We're getting it's blowing down the hill, and we know that snow is going to wrap right around your windshield, and it makes it really hard to see your own snow, let alone the truck or 4 trucks behind you. But it was just John and I even told you, give me some space so I'm not catching your snow dust. He drops off the hill right behind me.
well,
And-
I'm far enough behind him yet, but I'm looking down the hill and. Going south, dropping off the top, there's a pullout or the avalanche area that's down there, and I'm watching him because it's clear blue day. I'm like, where is he driving to?
I couldn't see anything.
He was driving right into the avalanche area. The
big
where the
wide spot,
where the wide
yeah.
spot is. And I was like, what are you doing? Because it was just like one glob of snow that was just following him down the road. And then it got away from his truck and he could see again, but it was like, it was moving right along with him.
The only thing I could see was the guardrail, so I was following the guardrail, and I got to that slide path, and there's a big wide spot there, and so I followed it over there, and of course John's back there thinking, okay, what's he doing? And then for looking out my windshield, all I can see is beside me the guardrail, which we've all done to get up or down that hill. The next thing I see is a big pile of snow right in front of me, so I turn the wheel to the right, realizing where I'm at. The next thing I see, it went white, and then the next thing I see is the side of the mountain right in front of my truck. So I'm yanking the wheel to the left, and John's back there just laughing his ass off. What are you doing?
Yeah, I was like, because I could see in front of his truck, I could see behind his truck, but there was just that one glob of snow that was just going the same speed as he was, and it was bizarre. I mean, it's comical now.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because I didn't drive through the guardrail and down the cliff or whatever. But
right, yeah, it was just like, wow.
He's back there just yucking it up, having a good time, and I'm miserable.
That happens a lot in them blows. Like going into Prudhoe, or the guy behind you can see what you're doing, but it's like you're out there in the middle of that and you can't see. And sometimes I've seen people make fun of people because they can't see, and it's like until you've been in that situation.
Yeah. That's a pretty horrible feeling.
I got a response to that. If you can see better, come on around. I'll follow.
Yeah.
And then once you get out in front, it's like, oh, yeah, it is kind of tough out here.
Yeah.
Going back to the Beaver Slide, for a new guy like myself, I've only been up there a couple winters. Coming down off of it, right? And the wind's blowing. Should a new guy be chained up in that situation? Because if you're doing 15 or 20, you can't see because the wind's blowing the snow. You either got to go faster than that to get out of it. Is that right? Or do you chain up and just creep down the hill? What does a guy do in that situation?
Each situation is unique to itself.
Yeah.
I was going to say you're probably going to get 3 different answers from 3 different people. Because it is just like Phil said. It's kind of dependent on the situation. If you had to stop because somebody was in your lane coming up the hill following the delineators or got boogered up and stuck in a drift, are you going to be able to stop?
Yeah.
You definitely would be with chains on.
Yeah.
We've all chained up to get down off of that thing.
Yeah. Or if you're
Or wished you had.
or if you drop a steer tire off, are you going to be able to back out?
Yeah.
Probably not without chains on. So
It's a little easier these days, the finger mountain or the Beaver Slide because of the delineators. Years ago, there was 4 little plastic markers on the right side only, and as soon as the wind blew, they just laid right over. So there was none.
Yeah, the Carsonite markers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of times, 45 minutes to an hour to get down off of Finger Mountain, go along, not being able to see, dip a tire, stop, back up, go the other way. Dwayne Dufford and I, one night, it was just short of an hour getting down off there, and he had some of the best lights you could get at the time.
Yep.
He was right in front of me. I couldn't see him.
What kind of lights were those?
Hellas.
Hellas.
I was going to say KC lights.
No,
That's what I had.
He had a set of Hella HIDs that would shine into the next time zone.
You could always tell it was him coming.
Yep. They had a blue hue to them. Well, a lot of lights do now, but you could see him come over the top of the hill and just see those light beams just wave across the sky. You couldn't even reach him on the radio. He was so far away.
You could just see his lights coming.
Yep.
I think Kevin ended up getting a set of those too. I think he had a couple sets of those on his.
Yeah.
But him and Dwayne were always together.
Kevin who?
Kevin Lowry.
Oh, okay. I've heard that name before. Now look at the lights we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, delineators, wide road. I mean, yeah, we just in the time that I've been driving, you know, which hadn't been as long as a lot of guys, but you know, there's been a huge amount of changes up there, you know, and tires and trucks and suspension, and it's like, man, you know,
the improvements have been pretty significant.
Yeah, usually it goes the opposite way. You know, you're fighting everything, and now we got all this new technologies and new everything. You know.
Yeah.
The delineators are probably the biggest help. You know, I'm sure you remember, Aaron. You get up on top of Galbraith trying to get over to Tulik in the fog when there were no delineators. It'd take you forever to get across that 15 miles.
Yeah.
Because it was so dark out there.
And the road was just about the height of the tundra, so if you did dip a steer tire off, you weren't completely laid over anywhere. You could just back out of it and get back on the road. But
it's funny, them corners over there between Galbraith and Tulik too. You know, you kind of forget about them 35-mile-an-hour corners. It's like, man, there's always trucks off the road.
Yeah.
Over there, which you were looking at some pictures, like, where's that at? It's like, I guess I need to show you where them corners are at. It's amazing just getting rid of them two corners over there. It's like, man, you can just fly through there, you know. And
yeah, the road's probably twice as wide now, and
yeah,
it's just it's incredible.
Did that used to drift pretty good through there from Galbraith to Tulik when it was like that?
Yeah, because it was, you know, just like a lot of the road, it was the same height as the tundra.
Yeah. So you guys were always fighting drifts back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there for a day or two, you know, just waiting for the state to come clean some of that stuff. But you made a comment earlier about outrunning the snow, or you were asking.
Oh, going down the slide with the wind. And
yeah, I just wanted to say that is a scary thing. I've had them thoughts before, but you don't want to, you know, if the snow's coming over the back, it's better to go slow. That's
what I was wondering. I was like, what do you do?
if the snow's traveling 15 miles an hour and you're trying to go faster, and that 20 miles an hour can feel like 100 when you can't see.
Yeah.
Especially when you know you're on the beaver slide. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and then you get panicky. You know, you think you see, you know, where am I? You know, is there something coming? And if you do happen to meet somebody or realize that you're not pointed at the right road, you know, the right direction or whatever, then you're getting all panicky and jamming the brakes and probably causing more of a mess. So
I've seen a lot of trucks on their side, or maybe not a lot, but I know Dad's old Western Star, a friend of his, was driving that thing, and it was the same thing. The snow come up over the back of him, and he caught the edge and laid that thing on its side, you know, and it's the only thing he broke was a mirror. You know, there's a lot of snow out there, but it's like you still don't want to be on your side out there. And it's just, and he wasn't in a hurry, but it's like you don't realize till you get in that situation how scary that can be.
And that's, you know, just on the slider to pass, you know, just everywhere up there, you know, just even driving out in the flats there, you know, between Pump 2 and Prudhoe, you know, it's just depending on how the road curves, and, you know, you might have the wind hitting you directly from the side, and then it changes, you know, directions because you're bending around a corner or whatever, and it kind of kicks over the back end of your truck or whatever, or trying to drive around the airport, you know, that up there in Dead Horse, you know, that just seems like the worst.
Yeah.
You know, trying to make that horseshoe around the end of that airport just could be absolutely miserable.
Yeah, that last half a mile of the entire road.
There's thousands of stories of guys fighting to get around there, I'm sure. But yeah, I know, like if you're coming off the pass or something like that, just say you're doing 20 mile an hour and the wind's 20. You know, you don't realize the wind's blowing over you, but you see a drift coming up. It's like you might want to get slowed down before you hit. You have to think about that. Because I've done that before. You hit that drift and all of a sudden you can't see. But if you're smart enough to think ahead and just slow down before you hit that drift, and then
Well, you hit that drift, you don't only create all that snow dust in the air, but then, all the steam off your motor.
Yeah.
It
Fogs
fogs
your
up your
windows.
window, and then you're trying to hit your windshield wipers. You're trying to figure out where you're at in the road. There's way too much going on.
Yeah. That's tough. That's what you call experience when you experience that.
Yeah.
Right.
I got enough. Can we just not do that anymore?
It's funny, some of the challenges we used to look forward, or at least I used to look forward to, is like, I'm good. Been there, done that.
And I don't know if we've talked about it in the past or whatever, but it used to be the same way. It used to be, an adrenaline rush or whatever. It was like, oh, it's completely crappy. Nobody else is going in and out. And it was like, all right, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And you fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. And then finally you get in there and you're just absolutely dog tired. You can't see straight because you've just been staring into nothing. And for what, just could have went to bed, got up next morning, drove on in. But no, you try to be the hero.
Well, I think it kind of speaks to just accepting the challenge on a section of the road.
Yeah.
We break that road up into sections. Okay, this section, the weather's bad, so you're going to have to work at it. And okay, it's doable. It's not anything to stop us. It's going to be challenging, and you meet that challenge head on. I think as we've done it for the years that we've done it now, it's like, I don't feel like doing that tonight. I'm just going to go to bed and deal with it tomorrow. And sometimes that pays off, and sometimes you end up sitting there for several days where you're parked. I remember one particular night, it wasn't even supposed to be blowing, and those are the most dangerous blows that aren't forecasted. I pulled into 261, take a leak, jump out, check my load. I get back in the truck and I hear all kinds of commotion on the radio. People are off the road on Galbraith. I heard Gary Healy over at the 120 dip saying, I think I'm in the 120 dip, but I don't know. And it's like, holy cow. And I sat there listening for an hour. Those people, it was bad, and they were having a miserable time. Long pipe off the road, and I'm not going to mention the names, but it happens to everybody. But I thought, I'm not going into that. I'll just wait till tomorrow and see. Even if I got to stay here for a couple of days, it sounded that bad. And I slept for 8 hours. I happened to wake up, and Joy Weeby come by. I said, hey, Joy, and it's blue skies and sunshine. And I said, where'd you come from? Oh, I just came from Prudhoe. And I said, well, how's the road? She says, what do you mean? I said, well, it was blowing really bad. Is there a bunch of drifting? What's going on? And she said, no, I just blue skies and sunshine all the way from Prudhoe. So I jumped in the seat and hauled ass for Prudhoe. Some of those guys, Lonnie being one of them, it took them 5 hours to get from Galbraith to Slope Mountain. They're all still in bed when I went by because they're just wrecked, tired. And I sailed right in and sailed right out of there. It worked in my favor that time just by chance.
Yeah.
But you always wonder that in the back of your head. Am I making the right decision by going forward or by staying?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's got to eat a guy up.
Well, that's what takes years of, them storms, they have characteristics that you can kind of, after enough years, you can kind of get a feel for what they're going to do or what may or may not happen. And it's not always, well, just sit right here. Sometimes it's, no, get going. I stopped at the top of Coldfoot Hill one night, and I heard a couple guys that just left Coldfoot saying, gosh, I wish I had never left. And it had been blowy and blustery from Pump 5, which it never does, and it was drifting between Koyukuk and Coldfoot. And I thought, man, this is not the norm for winter storms up here. So I thought, okay, and I pulled down into Coldfoot, and there was quite a few trucks in there, Kenny Jones being one of them. He said, yeah, it was 4 hours from the shelf to here.
Wow.
And then John Shanky pulled in, and he said, yeah, don't go up there. We sat there for 3 days.
Yeah.
At Coldfoot, it's not a pullout alongside the road, so yeah, we had a good time just hanging out. Yeah, the road blew in behind us, and the pass was closed, and there must have been 40 or 50 of us there just living life at Coldfoot.
But you had these old guys telling you don't do it. So
Yeah.
you had the experience telling you that.
Yeah.
So knowing who to listen to, we've always talked about that.
Yeah, it's funny thinking about it seemed like back then we were fighting the drifts. It's like if you don't get through there while everybody's getting through there, you may not get through there for a couple days. The state can't get to it or whatever. But now with the road being raised, it don't drift like it used to. So it's like it is easier just go to bed, and then when it quits going, just drive through there because there won't be any drifts to get through.
Right.
Well, that, and it doesn't seem like the storms are as bad or as long, because it used to, back
5 days.
in our early days, it would be, 5 or 6 day storms, and then it'd take the state a day or two to open up spots and all that, So, now it just, you might get a drift that blocks a road that might be, 100 foot long or whatever, and the state will come out there with a snow blower and open it up in a couple hours, and that's that, But yeah, it just doesn't seem like it gets as bad as it used to, at least.
I'm sure you guys remember before they pushed the hillside back on the south side of the pass in the canyon, the hills used to come right up to the edge of the road. So as soon as the wind started blowing, it was one lane. And if there wasn't traffic going through there, it was closed like lickety split.
Yeah.
And it would come down off the hill there right to your windshield. But since they pushed it back, it comes down and is more on the ground now. So it's just changed.
Yeah, it's like going around the pipe crossing on the pass.
Yep.
Where it just blows right in your windshield.
Yeah.
So
They couldn't hardly keep that. Was that this winter or last winter? They couldn't hardly keep that open right there.
It was last winter.
Last winter.
It was drifting there a lot.
yeah, there in Tulik.
Yeah, it seemed like it's one lane a lot. It's like the state could not get caught up there.
Well, talking to Dad, he was saying like from Tulik, you know how it was drifting through there all the way over to Slope Mountain. He's like, I haven't seen it do this in years.
Yeah.
Certainly since they raised the road there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed like once those drifts started early in the winter, they were there all year long. And every time it even whispered wind, it was plugged up.
Yeah. Well, until the state gets a chance to push them back away from the road, they just fill right back in, and that went on for a couple of weeks, and then they finally came and pushed them back in, and then a real good storm came in and brought them right back.
Yeah.
So we fought it most of the winter there.
Makes for some good stories, though.
It does.
Or some bad ones.
That too.
Yeah, just something we touched on a little bit earlier, but it before we had delineators and all that up there, it was a real pain in the butt, before they did all the extra work and widening the road and putting D1 down and all that, over the top of that river rock and such. Back in the day, which I think they should probably do now, is get some of the state legislators up there, because they used to do that every single year. They would fly the legislators into Prudhoe. All the companies, all the big companies would go up there and get a handful, of legislators, and we would go down to Chandelar Camp. And then that's where they would get in pickups and go down to Pump 5. But, they would take turns. We'd go to Sag River and generally swap legislators, so they got a different perspective from each driver. And we did that for years and years and years, so they could, the state was lobbying for money, for road and, improvements and stuff like that, wider pullouts, Tulik and 117 got a little bit wider. Ice cut got substantially wider, and that was all due to that, essentially, saying, hey, we don't have anywhere to sleep up here. There's no pullouts, there's nowhere to get out of the way for big loads, and I think a little bit more of that could be done, right now too to help. But delineators was a huge one that came with that whole thing. From the pass north, that happened almost instantaneous.
That was a game changer.
Yeah.
You get away from the trees and all that, man, it makes it tough. But
Yeah.
Well, and you wouldn't think that delineators would be that difficult to do, but that many of them for that many miles, how many millions of dollars that was initially, and then to maintain them, and
And that was just the post that had the little square tabs on them. That wasn't the fancy ones they have now that, with the Carsonite markers on them and all lit up all the way, vertical and horizontal. These were just posts in the ground with little
2-inch by 2-inch
yeah.
squares.
Yeah, what was it? 2 tabs on the right side of the road and 1 on the left, or something like that, or green
White.
on one side and
It was
white on
white
the other.
on the right, yellow on the left.
Yeah.
Those were so much nicer. You get in that wind, you don't have to think about it. But
Yeah.
now you're out there counting which one's on which side. And 2 over there,
They
1
all
over
look
here.
the same.
As long as they're on each side of the truck, you're fine.
Well, didn't you guys used to drive on the opposite side of the road going into Prudhoe when there was a blow?
We still do, when it's that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not all the new people know about that.
Yeah. It has to be pretty bad with the way the delineators are now. It has to be really bad for you to be going that slow and driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, you're in first gear.
Yeah.
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 And
well,
usually with ski goggles on, right?
Well,
That's
Phil and I done that with those stupid T800s again, pulling tankers up Finger Mountain. You know, you clean all the way over in the northbound lane up against the delineators to try to keep your trailer in the road.
Yeah.
You know,
You got blew off the road. Well,
that was a W9.
but
Yeah.
okay, we were running up the right side, our side of the road,
Yeah, we
trying
were-
to get the gravel right on the edge, and a gust of wind hit John right about the time he spun his tires, and it just shoved his truck halfway off the road.
Yeah, on
There
a
he
dash
sat.
cam, you see, I was crowding more to the middle a little bit, but you know, driving a W9 at that point, and all you see is just going right up the hill, and then you just see the hood bouncing, and I was like, what just happened here? Trailer's off in a ditch. It was like, what in the world just happened? You know, but yeah, just that fast. You know, but yeah, it's just crazy. The wind is stupid.
So anymore now, when it's blowing up there, what are you going to do? What are you guys going to do?
Park at the edge of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just drive right to the very edge of it and go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More
And
often than not. Yeah.
And like I said, this last few years, it's worked out perfect. You know, take 8 or 10 hours off, maybe.
That way you're rested, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Fighting
Well,
it
you
when
get
you're
up
tired.
and you know the state may or may not be out doing their thing already, and you know, depending on what time of day it is, and you know, you're that much closer to Prudhoe. You know, was it last year or the year before we stopped at Atigun camp, and it was just gnarly. Everything north of the camp was just completely it was just a mess.
And
So
we left town knowing that, going back to the characteristics of the storms. You know, you look at the weather with a kind of a critical eye, the forecast. Sometimes they're wrong on this one, and you need to do something different. And then there's other times where, okay, they've known this storm's coming for several days, and this is the type of storm it is. So John and I left. Let's just go to Atigun camp. We'll go to bed. We'll get up the next morning. It'll be done. We'll go do our thing. And that's exactly what happened.
yeah, it just there was a long string of trucks there parked, you know, northbound, but it was drifted like there was no tomorrow all through Atigun camp, and yeah, it was something else.
Yeah, we fought to get there a bit.
But yeah, well, once we got there the next day, it was clear blue skies. You know, just waited on the state. You know, there was a couple of trucks that came south, and it was like, where'd you guys just come from? You know, just like you were talking about with Joy. You know, it was like, just came from Prudhoe. It's like, all right, we're going to work then.
Yeah.
So just like that, it was done. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this last winter, that's what we ended up doing. Lonnie and Mike, Mika, a few other guys went all the way southbound to Atigun camp because it was starting to avalanche on the pass, and it ended up shutting the road down, and they were fighting it, and then the wind. Somebody said the wind was supposed to be blowing 100 miles an hour. That was something I had heard on the radio, which I don't know if that actually happened or if it was just somebody saying that, but I remember we spent about, 2 days there? 2.5 days there? Or no, it was like 40. We almost got a 34-hour,
No, we got 34.
Oh, we
was
did
it
get
2 or 3? It's like 48 or 72 hours.
something like that. But the weather was nice over there at Atigun camp. It's like, man, we could almost see the pass from here, you
Yeah.
know? And
Right.
Well, the problem was there was so much snow, and the state couldn't keep up. You know, and it was one lane for so long, and it was like, then it started to avalanche, and it's like, I mean, that was a good call. Just shut it down before somebody got hurt,
yeah.
kind of thing.
Didn't they wind up shooting a hill?
Oh, they just kept shooting it and shooting it. It's like it just kept coming down and
Yeah.
coming down, and it's like, man, them avalanches were big.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, you know, the weather, they can blind fire shoot that pass, but if it's blowing, they don't like to, because the wind can carry those mortar rounds over the hill, and so they don't like to. They like to wait for the weather to quit. Well, if it goes and goes and goes and goes, now there's so much snow up there. They keep, like you said, they keep shooting, and it just keeps coming down.
Yeah. Didn't seem like it wanted to quit snowing up there this last winter. It just seemed like there's a lot of snow up there.
There was.
We had a good time, though. He had a Starlink, so it's like we were updating everybody.
That was my first trip with that Starlink. It's like, man, that worked out good.
Yeah.
Got to spend some time with Lonnie finally, Got to hang out, listen to him tell stories, and he had this bright idea to go. Was it his idea, or was that yours?
Well, no, it was definitely Lonnie's.
That's right. We went up and helped the stage shovel just a little bit up there. But that was a good time.
Yeah.
But didn't you guys get stuck in an avalanche once?
I got stuck in an avalanche once, That's all it took.
Actually, I was parked between the avalanches, but that was...
There was a lot of guys up there.
Yeah.
The state was just trying to get us, there was a group of trucks there, and they were just trying to get us up and over the hill, and, then they were going to shut the road completely down, and it just turned into a complete mess.
Yeah.
I mean, from the top of the hill to the bottom, it was just avalanche.
That's what Phil was saying when we were talking to him last time. He said he could hear it through the radio, the snow and the rocks hitting your guys' trucks every time you talk on the CB.
Yeah, it was kind of spooky, but
you're like, is this ever going to end?
But and it was blowing so hard too. It was just, it's not like you could look up and see this stuff happening. It was just, I was staring at the back of Chuck Williams' tanker, and
because that's all you could see.
That's all you could see, and when everything came to a stop, I swore I rear-ended him, because everything just went white, and then I came to a stop, and got truck out of gear and all that, and it was like, I just crashed his tanker. And then, once all the dust settled, I could see, there was a good 6 feet between us, but it was all just snow, and so, but it was just, and Doug Hamrick, I think he was in the front, if I'm not mistaken, and he was still following the blade or blower or whatever was up, leading us, and, he was driving through stuff up, above the waterfall where it was avalanching, and it was just, timing could not have been any more worse.
If you remember, it took quite a while for them to get a hole cut past you and Chuck's trucks,
right,
and get us moving again. But once they did, we got above the waterfall. There was another slide we couldn't get through. They had to turn around and come back. They were headed back to the camp. They had picked up Scotty Vaughn, who got buried right behind me, and we're headed back to the camp. And it's like, hey guys, there's another avalanche up here we can't get through. They had to come back, knock a hole in that one, and get us to the top. And they took us actually all the way down and shut the gate.
Yeah, shut the gate
on the north side.
Well, they had to open it first. They had it shut at that
right.
point, because they were just going to get us up and over the hill, and then they were going to shut the gate on the south side of the hill. And then all the shenanigans ensued.
Yeah, I think you were saying we probably shouldn't have been up there.
we probably they probably should have. Yeah, but we got through it. Thank goodness, and nobody got hurt. But Chuck's truck and Scotty's truck wound up getting left on the hills. For 3 days. We spent 3 or 4 days in Prudhoe.
It was 2 days before it quit blowing, and then they started shooting, and they shot 70.
You said 72 times last
72
time.
72 or 73 shots.
Yeah, but I mean, it was clear blue sky day. It was completely blown shut. The avalanche shut, blown shut, everything. And it was insane. But
I've been in them ground blows before where you can't, you're just creeping along and you look up, there's a helicopter flying over you. It's like it's a blue, clear sky, but you can't see right there.
Yeah. Just when I worked up in Prudhoe all the time, flying into Prudhoe, you get to about 100 feet and all of a sudden you can't see anything, out of a blue sky day into, the storm. You're like, good grief. Like, welcome to work.
It's almost like you need your own periscope, you know, that you
Exactly.
can see what's going on.
Yep.
That could work.
Maybe.
We'll get
Except
a
you wouldn't be able to see the ground. You know.
I think we're on the road.
Yeah.
Let's take a break real quick.
Yeah, let's take a quick break.
My bladder's full.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting.
we
for the last time.
went a little long.
I just.
You just don't have your air ride seat.
That's the problem. We're so used to those nice air ride seats, you know.
That we let all the air out of.
Turn the heat on, turn the AC on.
We'll get some nice seats in here at some point. But so every time we take a break, it seems like we end up talking more off camera about stories and stuff. It's like, it's almost like we need another, you know, like the Howard Stern show. They got the camera crew following through the hallway or whatever, you know, with the microphone. But we want to talk. We want to hear about the ice cut story since we got John in here.
Tune in next time.
Oh man.
So let's hear about that. I mean, obviously, last time Phil was talking about, you know, there was a hole there, but
It was a crater. There
It was
wasn't
a
a
cra-
hole.
yeah, it
It
was a
was
crater.
huge. It was both lanes. It was a massive hole right at the bottom of the hill.
And it'd been there for weeks.
Yeah, nobody could get a run for the hill at all. And I had been off for a couple days, and you know, not knowing that it was fixed.
It wasn't fixed.
It was better.
I had come south the day before and eased down off there, and I remember specifically thinking, oh, this thing's finally getting mashed out a little bit, so you know, a person could, you get your tires in the right place, you can take a little stab at it. And so the next day, John and I were heading north, and we met JT over by the oil spill, and of course he better not be doing more than 30 miles an hour. That's too fast, even. And I was behind John, and I thought, okay, I got some inside knowledge here. I'm gonna lay one on him. So I thought.
Yeah. I just idled. You know, didn't want to get yelled at by our number one driver. You know, so I just idled up to the bottom of the hill. You know, maybe third gear, second gear. Just trudged up the hill, not knowing that Phil was getting ahead of steam, and he's like, "I'm coming around you," and I was like, "No, you're not." I just dove over, you know, summertime.
but those weren't the words you actually said.
No.
Keep this family friendly.
Yeah, there was a little more truck driver language involved.
Yeah, I just yarded over and just got right in the middle of the road, and he went.
You weren't having that, huh? You weren't going to let him pass you
no.
on the ice cut? Yeah.
No, I'm not getting sacked on the
Yeah.
ice cut.
And the comical part of it was so instantaneous. He didn't even think about it. It just was natural reaction. No, you don't. And
Almost like he'd been training for that.
yeah,
Went from seventh to
third.
third, just like that. It was like,
Yeah.
nope, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
Not on this hill. So.
And you guys laughed about it from
We
then
still
on.
laugh.
Oh yeah, he was pissed at first, but
You were probably just chuckling away.
I
though.
was. Oh yeah, I was. Yeah, I was laughing. He's like, I can't believe you did that. It's
I
like,
called
you would
him-
have done the same thing. You would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I would have.
No one wants to be sacked on the ice cut.
Nobody wants to be sacked, period, but it just happens.
Yeah.
But no, it's just you got to find the time to have fun. You know, it's it just doesn't seem like that kind of fun is had anymore. You know, it just seems more and more like a job. You know, like you just get out there, you grind the miles out and back and forth, and there's not, like, I'm sure a lot of people hated us, but, there was times that we were running in 5, 6, 7, 8 truck convoys, legit, back in our early days, and just debating back and forth, just on Arrow 2 is what we ran back in those days all the time, and
it would start out with just 2 or 3, and you come along and pull out, and there'd be another one of our trucks just getting up, and, well, come on, let's go, and before you know it, there's 8 or 10 of us, and they're all blue trucks, and people they hated us anyway, but
They're making all the old guys mad, right?
Yeah,
Another
always.
one, another
Always.
one.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, we'd sit there and cut up and, debate and joke around and, just whatever, and it made the miles
Pretty-
go by a heck of a lot better than,
Put each other down and degrade one another.
Yeah.
It's kind of a guy thing, but there's
you don't show weakness.
Yeah.
Don't show weakness.
That's what I tell the new guys. Don't show any weakness because they're like a herd of chickens. If they draw blood and see that, you're done.
Yep.
They'll be on you like a pack of chickens.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's still a lot of camaraderie, with the older drivers, and we're the older drivers,
Right.
but it's just not the same.
You
as
talking
it-
about you two?
Yeah, I guess. Am I older than you, Aaron?
I think so. A couple of years.
Oh, mercy. Yeah.
So now you're older and wiser. You never thought you'd be in this position, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and people wanting to freaking they're looking up to me to make decisions. Like, what do we need to do, John? It's like, crap, I got to be the decision maker now.
You got to be the responsible one.
Yeah, this is dumb.
Why can't we go back to our 20s when we were allowed to make mistakes and just say, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, I'm the new guy.
Yeah.
Everybody used to think I was older than what I am, but it's just my maturity is why that is.
Yeah.
I was thinking of somebody who saw you at Coldfoot and was like, he's a lot older than I am. Turns out he was only a month older than you. So,
Yeah, he was older than I was.
yeah, Mr.
It's all
Shaw.
those haul road miles.
Yeah. It'll do that to you. No, but
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere up there. There's a lot of the I don't know what you call it. Not, I guess, kind of the ethics or the brotherhood or whatever. Doesn't seem to be what it used to be. But there's a lot of us that are still trying to maintain, that level. Stopping anytime you see somebody pulled over. It doesn't matter what company you work for, or if you hate each other or whatever. When you're out there, everybody's trying to do the same job, and you want to stop and help, and
it's like you're out in the wilderness up there, It's
Yeah.
like,
whatever grievance you have with whatever driver, all that goes out the window if somebody needs help. Because you might have a part or a widget or screw or whatever, airline fitting that they might need, and then you can go back to hating each other after the fact. But,
Well, yeah, that's true, but that might be dependent on how egregious some previous events might be. There's nobody's going to get left in a life-threatening situation. You just don't do that. It's actually against the law in Alaska. But, if a person has conducted themselves in such a way that they need to learn something, there's been instances recently where they could use some help, but it's not life-threatening, and they get told, you know what, you're on your own. Sucks to be you.
yeah.
Maybe
like-
next time you'll do something a little different.
yeah,
It's like Dave Smallwood's story. It's being stuck on the path, no chains in July.
yeah.
I can't remember how he said that, but
Something that I think it's, if you come up here any time of the year without chains, you deserve to be right where you're at.
Yeah.
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 Something
and
like that.
another thing, pass it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kept trucking.
Yep.
I remember catching up to him almost to the top. It was the first part of August, and he was putting his chains on and couldn't quite get himself moving. So I hooked on and got him off there before anybody seen that. And I think that's probably why I never wound up in the Chuckhole Gazette.
Man,
Nobody's
you didn't get a
gonna-
picture of that, did you?
What's that?
Did you get a picture of that?
No, I did not.
Nobody's going to know about it now.
We've all been in that situation at one point or another where you need a hand.
You'll either be helping or you'll be needing some help.
Yeah,
But
Absolutely.
does
It's
go
always going to
around.
be your turn.
Yep.
Always going to be your turn.
And I like to have a savings account. I like to help as many people as possible.
Right.
That way, when it's my turn, I got help.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You guys were talking. You had some.
No, go ahead.
Oh, you guys were also talking about New Year's. Was it New Year's Eve or New Year's Day?
New Year's Eve, we were heading south.
Yeah, let's hear that on the pass, right?
Yeah, I don't remember how many years ago it was. You know, time flies.
Was it 1999?
No. I had 6,000 miles on that new 4900. So
We'll probably say
6
18,
years.
19
6 years ago, 19.
or so. Yeah,
19 years ago, not 18,
No, no.
19.
2019
29. Yeah.
on New Year's Eve.
2019.
Yeah, we were southbound, and it was a nice day on the slope. You know, it was a really nice day. We were just trucking along. We heard, you know, the closer we got to the pass, we heard a couple of drivers say, "Hey, you know, it's, you know, guys are having a little bit of a hard time getting up the hill.
Getting a little drifty.
Yeah, getting a little drifty. The wind's coming up from behind them, so it's causing, you know, some issues, like we were talking earlier. You know, so you're going down the hill, you're like, oh, this ain't going to be nothing but a thing then. You know, we'll just scoot on down the hill. You know, that's always forward thinking, but this guy had to stop at Atigun camp.
Was that on
He
purpose?
Probably.
Had to take a leak and
Yeah, he stopped and took a leak, so that put me out front, and we just bombed right up the north side, you know, nothing. You know, no change, no nothing. And
you know, and as much crap as you've driven us into over the years, I should have made you stop and then waited, just sailed right over and went home. But being that you're in front, stuff always goes wrong.
That's experience talking right there.
well, he hadn't learned yet. But
Yeah.
he's still behind me.
I try to stay 2 hours behind him.
But yeah, either way, we got to the top of the hill, and I mean, like I said, the north side of the hill was perfect. You know, just you could see there's nothing,
Barely a breeze.
And the second you got to the parking lot on top and dipped over the other side, it was just like driving into a complete whiteout, because that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
You couldn't see anything.
It was 30 below, and usually that cold, you don't deal with that much wind. And it wasn't until you dipped off the other side. John starts hollering to stop. I was already started down. So I stopped and said, well, what's going on down there? And he says, well, I'm stuck, or I'm stopped, or I'm in the ditch. I don't know yet. Let me get out and see what's going on.
Well, a little before that, I had yelled because I couldn't see anything, and I was staring out the driver's side window, you know, in a northbound lane, looking at the guardrail. And once I finally found it, you know, because there's that stretch at the top there where there is no guardrail, and I finally found it, and the truck just came to a stop. You know, I didn't have no idea where I was. I was more so in that slide path area towards the top, you know, above the waterfall. And it was either avalanche or drift or whatever. I just nosed right into, and it was game over. You know, you couldn't see anything. It was just, there was nothing.
Yeah.
So, and
I couldn't see him, and he wasn't 200 yards in front of me. I mean, you guys know 2 feet in front of you, you might not see him, but I couldn't see down there. I couldn't see John, not the color of his truck, nothing.
Yeah,
It was just white.
yeah, all the radio chatter, you know, there was Chuck Jones and Herbie and Teresa. They were all trying to get off the bottom of the pass, you know, all on the south side there. And the blade and blower, they were on the pass. And, you know, there was trucks and equipment everywhere, you know, just trying to get off that hill. And the state was going to work up to the top and get everybody, and then, you know, get everybody off the hill and then call it good again. And they finally made it up to me hours later, and
turned around there.
and
They
it
never
turned
came to
around.
the top.
Yeah, all the guys that were sitting on top of the hill, they'd left. I was the last one. You know, I was like, "Are you guys going up the little ways to get everybody else?" And they're like, "No." I was like, "Well, that's kind of lame," but
So they got you out of there?
yeah, they snowblowed all around, you know, and I was able to get on down the hill, and I followed the snowblower to the camp, and we had driven past the camp, you know, past the driveways, and it was like, oh crap, we just drove by the camp. But you couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
So he stopped, and I just kind of muttered my way on up to the top of the shelf and got up there finally and was dropping off the shelf. And, you know, going through the cut, the wind was just swirling. you couldn't hardly see anything. And once I got out of the cut and kind of around where the guardrail is, it cleared out, but the drifting was coming off the mountain all the way to the guardrail. There was like a half a lane, and it was like, all right, so you're burying your driver's side of the truck in all that snow, trying not to get into the guardrail, but that's how narrow it was, and there was a driver at the bottom chaining up to go north, and I was like, don't even leave here. I was like, once you get to the top of the hill here, you can't see anything. You might as well just stay right where you're at, because it was snowing, and I said, just stay here and you'll be better off. And
So did you get off there then?
I got off. I made it back to town a little after midnight, so when I was going over to Hagelbarger, I got to see all the fireworks going off. So.
I think any of us that have been back and forth with Peru for a number of years, you've done it at least once. Come over Hagelbarger on New Year's right at midnight, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fireworks going off all at the same time. You're above town, and you can just... I stopped in the road one year just to watch it for 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I got to Coldfoot, and Coldfoot was jam-packed full of trucks, and I rolled in there, and they're like, "Oh, is the pass open?" And everybody's getting all excited and everything. I was like, "No, don't even play it. Yeah. Just stay here." I got a little bit of fuel and carried on to town, and you guys stayed up there another
52
2 days.
hours.
So it did work out. You beat Phil to town by 52 hours
Yeah.
because he thought take a leak.
Yeah,
And that was only like 2 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. Just because he stopped.
I remember you asking if they were going to go out and get those guys. At the top, it was only another couple hundred yards. We couldn't see any of them. By then, there's maybe a dozen of us sitting up there, wanting to get down off there and keep going. And when the guy said no, we're like, you got to be kidding me. And, because you don't know how long it's going to be. And then we sat there and listened for another 2.5 hours just for them to get John to the bottom. They couldn't see one another. John couldn't see the path that the snowblower was cutting through the drifts.
Yeah, you couldn't see the strobe lights on the back of the blower or anything. It was just that much material.
And that's the problem. You're coming off the hill. If you try to drag all dozen trucks off, and one person screws up, it's like you're going to be out there all night.
Yeah, it would have been bad for them to even bring another 2 or 3 of us, let alone another 10.
Yeah,
it would have been so horrible. The next day, they tried to come and get us, and killed the blower up above it plugged up with snow in the air cleaners and shut it down. That thing sat there for another day and a half on the side of the mountain. We drove past it when we finally did get off there. They had to bring a blower from Slope Mountain.
Yeah, so as much as it sucks to be stuck on top, at least you weren't stuck on
it wasn't
hill.
blowing up there. It was cold, but it...
But yeah, dudes were having, alternator issues.
Yeah,
and
we changed. Joe Howard hollered at me the next evening. He says, "Phil, I'm losing an alternator, and it's cold outside. The wind was barely blowing up there, but it was cold. And of course, everybody's on the same channel. Now there's, the place is packed with 15, 18 trucks. And I said, "You've got one, don't you?" And because I was driving a different truck, different motor at that time. And he says, "Yeah, I got one, but I'm not looking forward to getting out and changing it." All of a sudden, the radio just blew up. "I've got tools, I've got this, and that." There was 8 guys out there. We had that alternator changed in 9 minutes. Everybody's looking for something to do.
Yeah, Colville wound up bringing fuel up there to the guys that were sitting up there, and because you're leaving, you're southbound, you're not got a lot of fuel on board, so they brought fuel down for everybody, and so.
I like what Jack Bender says. It's like surviving. You're going to war. It's like you're surviving the war together. How do you say that?
You're going to war with your brothers or something like that. But like you guys are saying, it's different up here. This isn't like the States. It's every company's going to help in situations like that. You said Colville brought fuel up to you. That's amazing.
Well,
I'm sure they charged the companies.
Well, but still.
But somebody had made the entire industry knows. Okay, everybody's stuck on the pass, and after about 30 hours, somebody's making a phone call, and so they just loaded up a spreader truck and and went and fueled everybody up there. And
Well, that's like when the road washed out in 15. You know, all the companies got together because there was trucks scattered. You know, because we were still hauling freight up there. You know, we were having to wait. You know, especially the fuel. We were having to wait for the Rolligons and the Steigers and all that to come out there and, you know, unload a little bit of fuel at a time. So guys were sitting up there for days. So all the companies got together and sent food up to Slow Mountain Camp. And they were making meals out of Slow Mountain Camp and bringing them up the road, you know, to all the drivers that were just sitting there waiting. So
Right.
they did that quite a bit, you know. So
I was actually stuck at Coldfoot for that. That was awesome.
been stuck at Coldfoot a time or two with Phil, where both ends of the road were closed.
Yeah.
You know, and they're running out of food, and you know they can't fly in, and start running out of eggs and running out of this, running out of that. You're like,
Did you guys ever start any fights up there at Coldfoot, or ever getting into any fights with each other?
no,
no, I
No,
don't
no
think so.
physical altercations or anything like that.
No, we might have shamed each other pretty bad, but that's
Definitely.
a daily
Pretty
thing.
mild. Pretty mild.
No, we probably talk some trash to each other.
Yeah.
That's probably 100% true.
yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I've heard stories of people throwing stuff before at Coldfoot, and
Seen some of that.
There's
Yeah.
there's been
Seen some
things
of that.
over the
Seen some of that
years.
at Hilltop, but
yeah,
nothing like that.
kind of mellow it out a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like the, you know, the stories of back when somebody sits at a pullout, you know, instead of going all the way south, they'll just sit there and wait for you to come south and put a smack down on you or whatever. Never experienced anything
Or
like that.
like
but-
Dave Smallwood says, you don't want to bring a rock to a gunfight, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Daggone it. No, we just
Cool.
we just do our thing.
Well, I'm glad you guys get along so good.
Try to cause much hate and discontent as we possibly can.
Yeah, the rumors, you know, sometimes, and it's not just us. It's you think of a good story, you can try and start on the road and see. It's like the phone game. What's the story morph into by the time it gets to town, which is twice as fast as a truck.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's instantaneous with communication, but you know, just plant that little seed, a little white lie, and before you know it, it might start a fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is fun to do.
So you're saying you do that sometimes, Phil?
We've all been known to do that. I mean, listen to your brother.
Might be a story or two floating up and down that road that may or may not be true, you know?
Yeah,
So which one's Phil? Which one's John?
exactly.
Depends on if something bad happened or not.
Yeah. Sometimes when you get called by the other guy's name, you just say, "Yep, have a nice day."
Yeah, you don't even try anymore.
Yeah.
I spun out of the ice cut with the super truck one time, and I got to the top, and everybody's talking about how JD'd spun out up there. It's like, man, that JD, he's always spinning out everywhere.
Yeah. Sometimes you just let that lie.
Yeah.
You know, let that story roll.
Oh, man.
Well, it's like that one time when I spun out there behind Sarado in 1 mile. Everyone thought it was you that spun out, and you were training me, and I was the one driving.
You were right behind us on that deal.
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
There was about 6 trucks on 1 mile up there, and it's like nobody said there. There's 3 trucks in front of us. Get up there, and the whole hill's blocked. It's like,
Yeah.
what in the world?
Oh, yeah.
I thought
Last
about
winter.
that later. I was coming off of 52, listening to all of that, and John
Yeah.
was right there.
That was 2 winters ago.
I was like,
Yeah.
everybody gets stopped. I mean, it's the one poor guy had his chains on upside down, and there's trucks side by side. Is like, what are we doing? We look like a bunch of rookies up here.
Well, just
Well,
think,
well, you did have a rookie with you.
just
Yeah,
think
that's-
first snow's just
But we
less
made
than a
it.
month away now.
Yeah.
That was. I was nervous going from the high side to the low side. It's like, oh, I hope I get it in the right gear, you know.
that was good for you to have that.
That was a good
to,
experience.
to not spin out. We're stopped on the hill, but
Yeah, we stopped. Yeah.
it's something to chain up on the hill for the first time. That can be scary.
And that's, you know, we've all done training. That's something you have to teach the new guys. You got to teach them how to spin out and how not to and
Yeah.
what to do. Yeah.
You don't want to be in the ditch.
You don't want to burn holes either, right?
Yeah, go for holes, like Lonnie says.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, whatever we called it.
Yeah. Ice gophers.
Ice gophers.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just, I mean, just all in all, it seems like there's a great group of guys up here. We got a new trainee every now and then. It seems that has also seemed to mellow out a little bit, since last year, so. But like I said, winter's just around the corner here, and that'll start all the new shenanigans.
Let the games begin.
Yeah, but it's like any new guy. If they just come up here willing to learn, we're willing to teach. But when you come up with a know-it-all attitude, you're going to learn on your own.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
You're going to learn fast.
Yeah.
And it may get expensive. And you don't want to learn so many lessons that, there's other jobs that a person go to, but you burn enough bridges, you're done working up here. And there's enough money in this up here you don't want to burn those bridges. So it's worth your time to learn from somebody that knows what they're doing.
Well, and it like you said, this is such a small community. Realistically, this is a really small trucking community that's based in Fairbanks or based in Alaska that run up and down the haul road. So, I mean, word of mouth, if you start screwing up at this company or that company, that word of mouth is going to be like right instantaneous.
Yeah.
You go try to knock on somebody else's door and like, no, I'm pretty sure we're good. We're good. So.
Yeah. We got 6 open trucks, but none of them have your name on them. That's happened, a handful of times since we've all been doing this. That one person that is unteachable or just can't get out of their own way for whatever reason. Skill set might not be there, or they're too nervous. Whatever the case may be.
Or a little too arrogant, even.
Yeah, there's that, the arrogant. Those ones usually get shook out pretty fast.
Yeah, it takes somebody with a strong personality to survive up here. But you have to be teachable. You said that the other day. That I can't remember how you said that. It was like I kept thinking about it. But yeah, you need to be strong enough to survive this up here. There's gonna be some fear, but how do you deal with the fear while you're doing that? And
how do you deal with the stress that gets thrown at you instantaneously?
Yeah.
And not let something catastrophic happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys have driven in the lower 48, and if you put me in a truck and sent me down there right now, I would be out of my mind.
Yeah.
Because that's just, I'm completely out of my element. I don't know anything down there. You don't know where to go. You try to follow GPS or whatever, and you're like, one bad turn and you're somewhere you shouldn't be with a truck, Yeah. A little different situation up here, but, as far as your atmosphere around you and what you're comfortable doing, I mean, I have no problem going up and down the haul road, just.
But it's even different, Alaska's so big, the different, you don't like the weather, wait 5 miles or 5 minutes, but there's people that can drive the Parks Highway, freezing rain, with 2 trailers and just go back and forth like nothing's wrong. You give them 1 trailer and send them up there, and they are screwed.
Yeah.
They are so far out of their element, and they never get comfortable with it.
And it's a mindset. I've seen guys that were amazing drivers, but it's like they were so scared that they couldn't do it, and it's like, man, you were amazing, but it's like they couldn't get their mind right to go do it.
Yeah,
The stress.
Yeah.
I know a couple of drivers that run the parks or south of Fairbanks, and they absolutely are really, really good drivers, and they will have nothing to do with that road at all.
Yeah.
They're just too scared. They let the fear of it
Or the rumors.
Yeah.
The what?
Or the rumors.
Yeah, the rumors might be part of it, but they let the fear take over too much instead of that balance of having enough fear and respect for that road and what it can do to you, that they just never get comfortable enough to run it. And then you get other people, they get too comfortable, and then the road reminds them, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's like what his dad was saying a little while ago.
My dad.
Oh, well, my dad too. After 3 years, you get so overconfident, maybe a little cocky, and then that road's going to get you if you're not maintaining your humility. It's like you still have to respect that road, like you were saying, Phil.
Yeah, and it's like same thing with pilots. After about 1,000 hours, you get too comfortable or too complacent, and that's your dad's right. It's about 3 years. You know where you're at all the time by that point, or you should. And most people do if they make it 3 years, and that's kind of when something can happen.
I've seen that happen a lot where you can just see mentally they've got it figured out, and it's like, man, you've seen some bad wrecks.
Yeah, you get the difference between that and the person that thinks they have it figured out after just a couple of months. It's almost worse the person at 3 years.
Yeah.
Because they do know.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we've seen in different scenarios where that guy that's been up here for 2 months or whatever that quote unquote thinks he has it together is training somebody else.
Yeah. We've seen that.
Which we've seen a lot in the last handful of years, so it's like,
that's where
you're the blind leading the blind at that point.
The new names and the call outs like Little Sand Hill.
Yeah.
Or Chapman Hill.
Oh, I'm going to die on that sword. I am going to die on that sword.
That's where some of that comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, where in the world is this at? I had to look that up. That's a creek or something like that, or a gravel pit. It was like, my entire life as a little kid, that's the Koyukuk.
Yeah. The north side and the south side.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah,
that gets John's blood boiling, so that's kind of why I brought it up.
I've taken notes.
There's a lot of people that intentionally, Joe Howard being one, he'll be like, I think I'm around Chapman. I'm like, really, dude? We're going to go down this avenue? So
I might have to do some voice changing or something like that.
But I just, the Little Sand Hill and the half roller coaster and this and
the
that.
Half roller coaster.
Oh yeah, that's Mackie.
Really?
Yeah. I
never heard that one.
Yeah, I heard a guy talking, was kind of channel surfing, and heard some guys, and they were like, yeah, this is this and that's that, and I'm like, Lord help us. Yeah. Lord help us.
and whether it's that particular subject or specifically Chapman Hill with John, we all have our buttons, and those of us that know each other really well, we know what buttons those are, and we're constantly pushing
poke.
Constantly. And that's part of the trying to enjoy ourselves out there and break up the monotony of that line of work up there.
Maybe we get a sign made.
So whatever you guys, you're gonna let me know when you post this, so I can take a month off, so it'll run its course, and I won't be up here. And then I can go back to work, because everybody is going to be saying Chapman for every hill on our road now.
You won't know which hill they're talking about.
That's John's big red button.
I gotta be careful. We like to kid around about that, but there's so many new guys.
Well, that's how these names came about. Like chicken noodle soup, which I'm not going to go into, but that made somebody pretty upset. And there was another experienced driver joking around with that driver. He thought it was a new guy.
He changed his voice, called these things out.
Yeah, because he knew who was behind him.
But there's new guys out there hearing this stuff, and they want this information so bad. They're like a sponge. They're soaking up whatever they hear.
Yeah.
And that's where us as experienced hands up there, we need to be.
Yeah.
I'm scared to even be on my radio here anymore, but it's like we need to be
leading by
be
example.
That voice. Yeah, lead by example.
Dang it, that goes back into us having to be the responsible ones
Exactly.
again.
Hey, you the old guys now, right?
He's older than I am, so by 2 years, 4 years. Yeah. So
Man.
Yeah, it has taken some of the fun out of it over the years, because 20 years ago it was, like I said the other day, it was a rolling comedy show every mile, and now and how does it happen? There are a lot of guys that look up to us out there, and like you said, Aaron, they want to learn, they want to do well, and those are the best most teachable people to have. But if we get to having too much fun, it teaches them bad habits.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, we're the grumpy old guy. Get off my lawn!
Yeah.
You know, for
kind of
stuff
already there.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
it's stuff we taught them.
It's instead, Phil, it's get off my road.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh man. Yeah. I guess it's a double-edged sword, because we're still out there just doing the same job we did, 20 plus years ago. Yeah. It's just, now all the eyes are on us instead of us just being in the background of those damn kids.
Yeah.
Now
we're the ones saying that.
Yeah. Now but I'll go a step farther in regards to this podcast and stuff. We talked about this before we started recording here, that there's a bunch of younger drivers that are listening to the podcast, and they're gathering information and listening to the stories of the old timers that the stories that we enjoyed listening to on the road, following like Scheidler and Smallwood and Custer and all those guys that we got to listen to, so now they're sharing their stories to a generation that was two behind them.
Yeah.
Right.
So having that stuff come out, and it may not be the exact scenarios or whatever, because it was a different road for them, which the guys that are driving now, they're like, oh my God, this road's so terrible. I was like, no, this is because you got to drive 5 or 10 miles of potholed road. I was like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, what okay.
Stop whining.
Yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
But for them guys to be able to hear these stories and, maybe one day have that to where, in the back of their mind, because everything's it's not going to present itself the exact same way every time. So, but, you might hear a story that somebody said, well, I used this or this to, kind of MacGyver this together to get myself going. And, so you might have a little bit of that in the back of your head, or something that might stick out,
Yeah.
But, here we are now, the teachers. So.
It's like you guys said earlier, you're like, we got 3 different answers for you from, it's different variables, different scenarios up there. It's like, I don't know what to tell you to do. If I'm not right there with you,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, you're all 3 different loads. All 3 different kinds of trucks,
Different
they
tires,
all handles,
different abilities.
It's just, we can all, 3 sit here or 4 sit here and say, this is what I would do and this is what I would do, are you pulling tanker, are you pulling flatbed, are you pulling groceries, because everything handles different, so just like Aaron said a couple times, it's, you don't, unless I'm talking to Phil, because I know we got the same truck, we got the same tankers, we load the same, you're like, yeah, you can do this or do that and get away with it and stuff like that. But if you're trying to, tell somebody that's pulling a piece of equipment, that's heavier than you, or a freight load or whatever that may be tail heavy that you don't know about, oh yeah, don't worry about it. And then they go and burn out, then you're the a-hole,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's easier just to say, well, it was like you've been saying, it's 30 degrees or it's minus 30 and there was rock on the hill. This is what I saw, not what I would do.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a better way to go.
Yeah, we don't want people to be robots. We're trying to teach people how to think. It's like we give all these scenarios. It's like we want some common sense again. It's like, if we can teach you how to think and we can tell our different stories or where we're coming from on this, on what we're doing in different trucks and trailers and loads, but if you can learn how to think and take everything into account, then you can go make it happen.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, and for a young guy, I got a son that drives on the road now. Has for a while, but for a young guy to make this kind of money, and the atmosphere we're working in now, or the time period we're working in now, is just incredible. You know, if I was in my 20s making this kind of money, holy moly, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just everybody wants to try it, or, you know, there's a bunch of guys wanting to try it now, but we just got to herd them in the right direction so we're not all, you know, fighting each other up there, you know.
Yeah, and there's plenty of that. Like we've talked with, there's a kind of an influx of trucks from the lower 48 in Canada. They're not, the equipment's not set up right. They got the wrong tires. They definitely got the wrong chains, and they got the wrong mindset. And they might not even speak English, some of them. So it's hard to work with that going on more and more up there. Let alone the companies, the Alaska-based companies, training new guys up there on what to expect and what to do in certain scenarios. You know, it's we can try and teach the new guys and give them every opportunity to succeed, but it really is, like you said, Aaron, up to them. They got to be thinkers. You know, John McDonald said that years ago. If you're not a thinker while you're out here, then you're not. The road's going to eat you up.
There's so many different scenarios between summer and winter, just everything. It's like you can't. We're not robots. Every trip's different. You always hear that when you start up here, but it's like, man, you have to be able to think your way through every situation and make all your decisions
Sometimes
based on that.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just not, you know, trucking wise, mechanical wise, and, you know, you may not be a top-notch mechanic, but you're going to learn how to be.
Yeah.
You know.
Out of necessity, you're going to be thrown into that situation, working on something out there. But to go to, you know, definitely that road is not for the steering wheel holder or robots, you know, and now the advent of driverless trucks and stuff down the lower 48. I don't see that really ever working up here. Mm-mm. But when they decide they want to try it, I want to be the guy at the computer driving that thing from a desk. Because if there's a way to get a driverless truck up there with somebody sitting at a computer operating it, it's one of us that's going to be able to do it.
That would be kind of fun.
I don't think AI could do it.
No, I don't think those robot trucks would call off the hill either, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and then, you know, God dang it, I lost my train of thought, but I was going to say something smart, but I lost it.
About the robot trucks?
Well, it was about, you know, a generation of ours that didn't have manual or automatic endorsement on your CDL.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
You learned how to drive a manual, period.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's an endorsement.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, who would have even thought of that, you know?
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, and then what? Before that, they just had the chauffeur's license, right? Isn't that what Mike Scheidler was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of change. Oh, and no CB on the road either, what Jack was saying.
Yeah, that was interesting when Jack was saying you flash your headlights.
Flash your lights, is like, okay, how many flashes does it, you know, what does that mean? Yeah. Morse code, you know, just.
But it was the same thing back then. You were driving for the conditions. Even though the road's narrow and trucks are tougher, you did things differently. And it's like we're doing things different now, but you still have to use your brain and drive according to conditions.
Well, we got all those stories and all those guys' experience to build off of, and the tire technology, and everything's better now, and the chains, and, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, we know these stories. We don't want to be making up our own new ones, you know.
Right.
You know what I mean, in a negative context. But
Yeah, that's what we want to learn from, you know, the people before us. Why do we want to reinvent the wheel? You know,
Right.
I don't have the time or the energy for that.
Can you only imagine what that road's going to look like when, like, our kids are sitting there with 25, 30 years of driving experience up there, and, you know, it'd probably be a 2-lane or 4-lane interstate up there by then, you know.
with the tunnel going through Atigun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? You know, who knows what that road's going to look like in that many years? But it just, the gradual progression of making it better and better, you know. It's taken some of the fun out with the way, you know, the state's rerouting a road, and, you know,
Well,
and widen it out, like through the taps.
Yeah.
You know, when they started widening out the taps and taking out 44 mile and all that kind of stuff, the
Yeah.
bottom of 12 mile, and,
Yeah.
you know, that it just, I mean, a guy can rip through there now and not even think nothing of it, you know. And back when we started, it's like, you better be careful because, you know, there's a lot of corners you can't meet guys in. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just kind of taking a lot of the thinking out of it, the more improvements they do on it. But I mean, it's nicer all in all, you know, but
It's taken a lot of the challenge out of it.
Yeah.
And they've been threatening to bypass 1 to 8 mile, as we know, for years, and they still haven't. I hope they never do. That's the last section of really technical and challenging road through there, and it really separates the window lickers from the truck drivers.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? When we started, you know, we'd chain up at Live and Good, and our chain's 47 mile.
Yeah.
It's like then they fix that section, and you take your chains off at 26.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, unless there's freezing rain or
Yeah.
something, but it's like now with 25 mile, I don't think we'll be chaining up for that again unless it's freezing rain because you're a gear higher going up there. So now we're chaining from Live and Good to the top of 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There almost needs to be a pull out at the top of 8
Yeah.
now.
That's what yeah.
Yeah, but they've been threatening to go around all that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, if they go around all that, yeah, that
Are they
That-
going to leave that open, though, because people got cabins and property up there, though? Why don't they just leave that section open? You know, for the guys that, all right, I'm going to try 5 mile.
I've been
it
thinking about
wouldn't
doing.
work. They'd have to maintain it.
I was gonna say I shouldn't say this, but that'd be another section of road that they would have to maintain.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's a challenge right now. So let's not add to it.
Yeah.
I thought I seen tracks on Happy Man last night.
I was going to say that both ends of that are still open.
I probably shouldn't say that.
Come on, spit it out.
I've had thoughts of sneaking around that way, trying to pass somebody, but
Yeah.
I would never do such a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd just should see if they dug any of that up or not, or blocked it off, or
There was
anything.
fresh tracks in there last night when I come home. I was like, I don't know if they went all the way through there or not, but you probably could.
Did you guys ever spin out when they had the construction going through there?
Not
Was
there.
it- no, you guys
no,
didn't? Okay.
no.
Yeah.
No, we had a truck at our company that did.
Yeah.
One of the new guys.
Oh, man, what an experience they had, huh?
Well, yeah, it was fall. They're still up there working, and all of a sudden, poof, you know, you get an inch of wet snow on the road. And, yeah, it created a bad situation.
Yeah, a lot of history on that hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was kind of fun to drive it. I
Yeah.
mean, to see it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could live without it.
Yeah, you know, kids.
After hearing some of
it's
these
a-
stories? you
Yeah.
know?
It's a lot of, you know, getting to drive on it the last couple of summers. You know, because I'd never been on it, and they had bypassed it a couple of years before I started on that road, and then we're going to get to go drive Happy Man. Well, they've already improved so much of it once we first got on it, and it's, you know, barely wide enough to meet a couple of trucks. I thought, yeah, this is what I remember, you know, a lot of the road being like.
That's what the taps were like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All from one end to the other.
Yep.
They were narrow, windy, steep. Yeah.
Well, by the time I had got up here driving, you know, it was, if I'm not mistaken, you know, we were pulling those 53-foot reefers, and they required a permit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oversized sign and a permit
Yep.
for a 53-foot van.
Well, in the
Yeah.
90s, they had a permit for the 48-footers. You had to have a permit for each trailer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was,
So yeah, and that's, you know, and look at it now, just about everything's 53.
Yeah.
So
And 5 and now 6 axles, and it's like, okay, that's enough. You know, come on. You look like a centipede going down the road.
I really thought the 5-axles would be too much, but it's like, man, you don't see guys moving their fuel ahead anymore like we used to with 4-axles, and they're not fighting to get home. It's like, man, the 5-axle tanker, that really worked
That's
out
really
really
helped.
well.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's I'm pretty pleased with them.
They ride good, and they come home easy, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
a
you're
good
not
deal.
tail heavy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's nice. You can just load it the way you want and go to Prudhoe.
yeah,
Yep.
you could pretty much dome out in the wintertime, we got winter weights, you could dome out the front 2 compartments, and I mean, you got buku driver weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no people running that stuff ahead and filling up your vapor recovery.
Yeah. Everybody jammed up at Hilltop or Globe Creek or
Yeah.
wherever, trying to move as much fuel forward as possible, you know.
I've seen guys do that on the slide. You know, they'll start at the top, open it up, and run down the bottom, then shut it off again. I don't know.
Good.
I like to have. I was pretty routine, and when I did that, I didn't want to overflow anything.
Right. Yeah, that's I've not had it happen, but I've seen it happen where you get up to Colville or wherever to unload, you pull your vapor recovery, and all of a sudden there's a bath of fuel coming out at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not good.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you got to touch on before we wrap this up? Or
I'm starving.
we got some beef ribs, some beef short ribs going on the Pit Boss out there, the pellet grill. So I thought we'd treat these guys because I know he loves his barbecue. So.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, well, gentlemen, thank you for both coming in here and talking to.
thanks for having us.
And we appreciate you guys and
Yeah,
everything
and-
you guys have done for the trucking community.
Yeah, well, thanks for you guys doing this. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. It's not just entertainment, but there's something for the new guys to look at and listen to, and maybe catch a little insight. So what you guys are doing with all this is actually a really good thing for our industry up here.
Well, thank you.
It's fun preserving history.
Yeah.
Something we didn't really want to do, but it's like, well, we need to. So.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, but I'm glad I got a brother.
Yeah, I'm glad I got him on camera. And you're getting used to it, right?
I still get nervous.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.